Perfect. Good reminder.
All right, everyone. What's up? We've got Psych here tonight. Good group going on. If you could, in the chat, let us know where you're coming from. We've had so many states and a couple of other countries covered. Harrison is psyched.
All right.
Shaking my head a little bit at that, but I'm a little psyched too, though. It's fine. Yeah, where are you guys coming from? Where are you at? We got Nashville, Maryland, New Jersey, lots of New Jersey and New York, Washington. Woo! Look at this chat. I like this. New Mexico, nice.
Anybody here from Pennsylvania?
Yeah, we do. We have Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
All right, the capital.
Nice.
And nice. I'm loving this. Cool.
No one from Philly. That's okay.
No one from Philly here, but we've had Philly at other ones.
That's good.
It's represented. Cool. So I am here in Milwaukee at the Fiveable House, and my name is Amanda. I'm the founder of Fiveable. If we haven't met yet, I used to be a teacher. I taught AP World and AP Human Geography. I actually helped a girl self-study AP Psych one year. And AP Psych is the only AP class that I took in high school. So it's the one that's like near and dear to my heart because it really saved me in college when it got applied to a course that I needed. Let's just say I would have been spending a lot more money than I needed to if I didn't have AP Psych. So you guys are in the right place. So to give you a little bit of background on Fiveable, we are all about creating community for students. And so for us, it's about creating content that is useful for you and really helpful, but also making that content social and giving you community spaces to really be able to find other students who are studying the same thing at the same time. You know, I think a lot of kids spend a lot of time Googling and YouTubing content and just like spending a lot of time finding it, but not actually like in it and being creative and applying things. So that's what we do. We live stream. We have study guides for everything, for every unit. And this year are now starting courses. So if you've been in our live streams before or any of our cram sessions last spring, we're still doing all of that this year. Courses is sort of like the next level. So in courses, we'll be able to cover all the content for the class in 15 weeks in a really interactive and applicable way. So you can really see not just like memorizing a bunch of stuff, but really like understanding how it works and why it matters to know all these different concepts. So with that, I'm really excited to have you guys here. If you are not yet signed up for either this course or for another course that you're eyeing, I have a little coupon code that you can use, and it is OH10, and that will take off $10. So you can either share that with a friend, or you could use it for this course or another course that you're thinking about. I really like the idea too of students taking ones that are not offered at your school, right? Because if you think about it, like you don't have to actually take the class at school in order to take the exam. And so we're now giving you access to like all these new classes that a lot of schools don't offer, like environmental science or comparative government or psych, right? Like a lot of times schools don't offer it. So we're excited to be able to do that for you. So I'll be around. I'm in the Slack channel. If you're there, you can always DM me any ideas, feedback, thoughts you've got, questions. But Caroline and Kate, who will be your main go-tos for when it comes to courses, Caroline will take it away and introduce herself and a little bit more about courses before kicking it over to John. All right.
Amanda. Yeah, as Amanda said, I'm Caroline. I'm a managing editor at Fiveable, so I'm on the content team that is helping to build these courses for the fall, which is super, super exciting. But our main goal is just to make sure that we are getting you guys the most useful content available. And so part of that has been a big push this summer in getting blogs and study guides out to you guys. But we just want to make sure that you have the resources all the resources that you need to be the most successful, whether you're in a hybrid setting, an in-person setting, or completely remote. So one of the amazing ways to do that is to have a really, really awesome teacher with tons of experience who has been teaching psych for forever and ever and ever and ever and ever to be able to teach you guys no matter where you are in the world or in the country and help you learn through AP Psych. So these courses are going to be an awesome opportunity for that, whether you are supplementing in-person instruction or taking this because your school doesn't offer it, or maybe you're homeschooled. So I will not speak any more about Psych. John will take over from here. He is absolutely amazing and an absolute expert in his field. But I will be in the chat and I can answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to put them in there as we're going, and I'll be sure to help you guys out. But John, take it away.
Thank you very much. Well, with that introduction, I have a lot to live up to, it seems. And I've been teaching forever and ever and ever and ever. Really just made me feel old all of a sudden. So thank you very much. I might cry later on. Anyway, I'm Dr. Mull. It's my second year here at Fiveable. And to introduce the course here, I just want to kind of throw at you some interesting psychological questions, okay? I have here a lemon. I know with my virtual background, it's a little, might throw it off a little bit here, but it is a lemon, I promise you that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a bite of this lemon. I swear to you, it's a real lemon. So I'm just going to take a bite. And I can vouch for sure it is indeed a real and honest lemon. Now, here's the interesting thing. I don't know about you specifically, to the people who are watching this, but generally speaking, if you see someone take a bite of a lemon, I'll take another bite. The very sour lemon, I might add, you might find that people's mouths might start to water. But it's not you who's eating a lemon. It's me who's eating a lemon right now. Why is it, though, that our mouths water from seeing something? Now, I have an 8-month-old baby at home. And if I were to do that in front of him, his mouth is not going to water. We don't do that at birth. So how did we learn to have our mouth water at the sight of something like that? Because our mouths water to help with digestion, but you're not clearly eating a lemon. Why is you're watching someone eat a lemon and someone have the bitter or the sour taste in their mouth as they go through this presentation? Why do we do that? There is a psychology about how we have been conditioned in order for that to occur through our experiences with the environment. Here's another interesting psychological concept here to look at. I have here two straight lines that are parallel. They should be parallel at least, or if not close enough. And they are the same length, and maybe they're off by a nanometer, but take my word for it, they are the same length. I'm going to do one very simple thing. I'm going to add those lines there. And now all of a sudden, for most people, the bottom line becomes longer. I'm not talking about when you include the branches, but if you look at the straight line, the one that's parallel to the other one, the one at the bottom seems longer. It's called the Mueller-Lyer Illusion. Why does that occur? This goes into the sensation and perception aspects of psychology, that even though cognitively in our own thought process, we know that the lines are of the same length, the bottom one seems longer. Why is that? Psychology tells us something about the nature of sensation and perception and our learned experiences in how we interpret the world. Now, let me tell you about another facet of psychology here, research. Let me tell you about a very interesting research study that was done in Australia in the 1960s. So why does this happen, by the way, obviously, but something we'll talk about in this course. Does hypnosis cause antisocial acts? In other words, does it cause people to do illegal or bad things or things that a person wouldn't do? We see that in the media quite often. And in this research study, they had people who were very responsive to hypnosis, hypnotized and told while hypnotized to do certain things. They were told to pick up, to reach out for their hand and pick up a poisonous snake. They were told to put take their hand and dip it into nitric acid to pick up a coin that was put in the acid. And then later on, told to take the acid and throw it in the face of an experimenter standing nearby. Now, let me just say real quickly that it was set up so that the snake turned out to be behind plexiglass, so that if you did reach out for the snake, the glass would stop you. And the acid, if you did it very quickly, it wouldn't cause damage. And there was also plexiglass in front of the experimenter, so if you threw the acid at someone, it would obviously be blocked by the glass. But the participants did not know this. They did not know this, but there were safeguards nevertheless set up just in case the people in hypnosis did indeed do those things. Well, in this relatively small study, they had 6 highly hypnotized subjects who were given this suggestion. And as it turns out, 5 of the 6 did it. Now, this doesn't look good for hypnosis. It looks like, oh my gosh, it causes people to do evil things. Well, that's an interesting thing, but you know what? What we learned about in science class, what do you need when doing an experiment? A control group. And in this study, they had a control group of people who were simulating hypnosis, people who were not responsive to hypnosis, people who, despite trying to be hypnotized, could not be hypnotized. And they were told by someone else in this study, hey, we want you to fake the experimenter. We want you to dupe the experimenter. We want to make sure that you fake it because you know what? We want you to do that for us. And don't let them catch on because then you'll ruin the study. Now, so these people who are not hypnotized, if they're going to be given this suggestion, if they're not hypnotized, they should say, I'm not doing it. So we should expect that if hypnosis causes you to be antisocial, in this case, to do antisocial acts, to do bad, evil acts, then those who are simulating and not hypnotized should not do it. But guess what happened? All 6 simulators did all 3 acts. Now, why is that? Well, as it turns out, it tells us something about the nature of research and not about hypnosis. It wasn't that they were hypnotized. Rather, it's that these participants wanted to be good subjects in the experiment, knowing on some level that they couldn't hurt someone, that they couldn't harm someone, they wouldn't actually harm someone. So maybe they went off and do these particular acts. You see, that tells you something about the nature of research and how difficult it can be and how challenging it can be to create good psychological research when you're dealing with human beings. These aspects, all these different aspects are things that we are discussed to some degree in psychology. And for here, we talk about the AP Psychology Curriculum, which again, touches upon a number of these different topics here. So, meet me. Or meet I, no, it's meet me, a direct object there. I'm John Mull. I'm a psychology teacher at Cheltenham High School right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm also an instructor of primarily Introduction to Psychology at Bucks County Community College, which is, again, right outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs. My doctoral degree is in psychology, and I'm a researcher when I'm not teaching. I like to moonlight as an experimental psychologist. And among other research interests, among them are hypnosis. I've done quite a bit of research with hypnosis. Yes, I know how to do hypnosis. Yes, I know how to hypnotize people. No, I'm not going to hypnotize you through Fiveable. Don't ask. I'm going to say no. And as I like to joke, kids your age are pretty good at putting themselves to sleep anyway. Very good sleepers, I find, so. Anyway, I also have done research, supervised research with ASMR, which 5-6 years ago, no one ever heard of it, or it was an internet thing, a very small internet group thing that people talked about. And now it's become a very legitimate research topic where people get this feeling of euphoria and pleasantness and tingling sensations by watching some of the most mundane stimuli sometimes. A person will go onto YouTube to watch someone tap so they can fall asleep at night. It's a very interesting phenomenon. I've done some research with that. Some hobbies, I have a few. I like to bowl quite a bit. I like to do collecting and antiquing. I have a ridiculous Pop Funko collection around me. No, I'm not going to show it because it's really, really large. And I like going out and buying old things. My wife doesn't really care for it, but I like to do it. And so long as I can put it somewhere where it's not in the way. And when I have more free time, I do some more bowling. So those are my hobbies, okay? But you're not taking the course for me. That's just a little bit about me. So 18 years of teaching, or it's my 18th year, 13th year teaching psychology. That's the forever and ever and ever and ever aspect that Caroline referenced earlier on. This is my 2nd year of Fiveable in their, I believe, 3-year history, maybe 4-year. I'll leave that to Amanda to clarify that, but by my 2nd year here with Fiveable. So when there was distance learning, what was distance learning is not a new thing. Before there was all this quarantining and virtual learning for COVID, there was distance learning. And even before there was an internet, there was distance learning. Distance learning, once upon a time, was often done on the telephone. It was done through correspondence courses. You mailed stuff in. You actually picked up the phone. Not coconuts on a string, but you picked up the phone and you dialed long distance and you waited until after 6 p.m. because the rates were cheaper. Ask your parents or even your grandparents, they'll tell you that. But obviously now it's a much different thing. Now distance learning, well, obviously we might do mail, but not so much anymore. But now we use the internet. Now it's a much more efficient way of doing things and much more interactive. Instead of me taking a VCR tape, where I might have gotten in the mail, VCR tapes, don't know what that is? Take A push, you'll learn all about that. Well, now you can get it in real time. You can talk to the instructor in real time. That's what distance learning is today. And that's what Fiveable has to offer, this distance learning opportunity with a number of different resources and opportunities. You see, Fiveable Remote Learning offers office hours with teaching assistants, offers FRQ practice and feedback where you can practice FRQs, the written section of the AP exam, and get graded feedback. Recorded lessons from this year and the past and years past on different topics, study guides that have been made by teachers and students who have performed well in the course, and of course live lessons that are done once a week. And there is flexibility, allowing you to pick and choose what you want. Do you want to focus on the FRQs? We have that. If you'd rather get actual live instruction on particular topics, we have that to offer as well. What you want, you get as much as you want to get out of it. What do you expect from this course? 9 units in 15 weeks, the 9 units following the College Board curriculum. Online resources that have been vetted, reviewed, and approved by interns that worked for Fiveable this summer. Content-based streams. And the content-based streams being done once a week on at least, when I do them this semester, I'm going to focus on the more difficult topics or the more challenging topics that are covered in a unit. So for example, for the first unit, I'm more likely to stream about percentiles and p-values and statistical significance more so than, let's say, the history of psychology, because students find the former much more challenging and would use a lot more guidance with that. Opportunities to connect with your teaching assistants and peers, and lots of practice questions and practice prompts to help you with that ever so annoying written section called the free response question. Those are some things that we offer. We don't give grades, and with that, the stress of grades that come with it, you don't have to worry about that. The due dates are flexible. You basically do what you need to do when you need to do it. There is community. There's a focus on the community, interacting with other people who are learning the subject as you that you are learning, that have taken the course already and offer insights, and obviously people who are instructors like myself who can offer expert guidance, or my hope is expert guidance in this topic. No prerequisites, no previous courses you have to take. And when you do those practice prompts, you will get feedback from people who have graded FRQs in the past. This is a sample week. This is the week 1 learning plan, which is slated to start next week, subject to possible changes, but the 6 or several units that are part of Unit 1 put in that week with some emphases on certain things. Like I said, the actual lesson, the live lesson, it might not be on Monday. Actually, it's not going to be on Monday because it's Labor Day, but it will happen at some point. And again, we'll focus on what I think might be the most challenging or most requested or demanded thing to cover with someone in an hour-long lesson. A pre-response question, which you can take and get feedback on, study guides, links to a lot of different resources to help you with various topics within the particular unit that's being covered that week. Office hours in which you can meet with teaching assistants and other people who can guide you along the way. So what do these lessons look like? Well, I'm showing you not a PowerPoint slide I give. This used to be my PowerPoint slide. It's full of words. It is full of words. And what happens when you get those words in a lesson? You look at it, you start copying word for word. You don't even listen to the teacher anymore. And after your teacher gives this incredible, maybe explanation of what they're talking about here, you haven't heard a word of it because you were focusing on the written words that you were writing down. And at some point I realized, what am I doing? This is a terrible way of giving notes and giving instruction. And so you're not going to see that, and you're not going to see stuff like that. I hate text-laden PowerPoint slides. This is the equivalent of what I might give today. Much use of something we call dual coding, where it's the use of a combination of words and pictures, because long story short, the psychology of memory tells us that we process things both in words and pictures at the same time, and we learn best if we have a combination of using the two that help to interact with each other. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting you to know all the types of encoding right now by looking at this. It comes with instruction and explanations by the instructor, yours truly, in this particular presentation, that would talk about structural, phonemic, and semantic encoding. So while it may not be perfect, it's far better than this here. So you're going to see a greater emphasis on dual coding, which is a term in AP Psych that we'll talk about in this course, that it actually engages in the science of learning, the actual psychology of learning that helps people become better learners. And I like to employ that in my lessons. How do you succeed in a class like this, or any AP class? Well, the first thing I tell my students is to practice. Practice review questions, not just because it makes you good at answering questions, but also, as we will learn in this course, the idea of reviewing content and trying to pull information out of memory actually helps you memorize stuff better. This we know from years and years of research. Practice FRQs to get the game of the FRQ. I would say the game of the FRQ, how to answer it. Some of it obviously is content knowledge, and then the other part of it is knowing how to respond in such a way that it looks good enough. Because quite often, you might get something where you know the information, but you don't quite say it in the way that they're looking for in order for you to get the points that you need. When you're learning new stuff, make connections. Make connections to stuff you've already learned. Make connections to what you're learning in your everyday life. You know, this subject more than anything else, and I'm biased when I say this, I admit, because I teach it, has the most personal relevance to you. This is stuff that will talk about interactions with other people. It talks about how you can learn and have a better memory so you can do better on those tests. It talks about mental health issues and psychological disorders that a lot of people struggle with. It deals with social psychology and the nature of group interactions, prejudice, discrimination, racism, and other things that are in our news that make ourselves wonder, why is this stuff happening? Gives you answers, gives you explanations. When you learn about all these different things, developmental psychology, go up to a 5-year-old and ask, are you alive? And they'll say yes. And then you ask them why. They'll say, well, because I'm moving, because they attribute life to movement. You learn about how we change over time. We human beings have changed over time. How you are as teenagers, and the things that your cognitive development, how your thought has developed, all these things. Make connections as you learn about these things to yourself, to other concepts. You'll find it's rather useful. Ask questions. And when I say ask questions, I don't mean, can you repeat that? I mean, obviously that's a relevant question and perhaps important, but if you're not sure of something, put me on notice. Make me accountable. If you don't quite understand what's going on here, or if you don't understand a concept, then make sure you say, can you explain this better? Or can you clarify? Or could you do something? The more specific the question, the more examination you give into forming that question, not only will it help me give you a better instructional information, but it'll also help you learn better too, because you are thinking about that information. Study intermittently. Intermittently is one of those fancy schmancy words that teachers like to use that basically means don't cram. Think about it. For those of you who are athletes, for those of you who do sports, you don't train for the competition just the night before. You don't have 7 hours of practice before the competition and that's it. No, you practice maybe every day, every couple days, depending upon the sport, depending upon where it is. You do practice that's spread out. Same thing with your studying. It's called the spacing effect, also called distributed practice. Don't just wait till the night before, really break out your studying. And you might have heard that before, but I guarantee you it is really helpful. And finally, read. When I say read the textbook, I don't mean just read those bold-faced print words in the textbook and the words that follow it. Don't read the pretty the captions that appear on the pretty pictures. Read and think about what you are reading. Think about what is being said to you. Process it. The more you do it, the more meaningful and the more durable the memory of that reading will be. If you just follow the words with your eyes and do nothing else, well, it's not going to work very well. But if you read and really think about it and what you're reading, you'll be rather successful. So I like to kind of conclude my little part of the presentation with a neat quote by William James, who was a very famous psychologist. He was a president of the American Psychological Association. He wrote the first psychology textbook, Principles of Psychology, in around 1890, 1891. And though that's a fact you need to know for the AP exam, and you're getting that piece of information for free tonight. So, but anyway, James wrote, he said, the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Think about that for a moment. Think about all the stresses that people experience, and we all experience stress from time to time. Think about that stress is, to simplify the stress, that sometimes it's about a thought we might have or a series of thoughts that maybe to help cope with stress, sometimes we have to change our way of thinking. Not always that easy, but it definitely helps. And that is from William James, who happens to be the name of my son as well, William James Mull. Happy coincidence, I tell my wife. A happy coincidence. With that, Caroline, I turn it over to you.
Sean, thank you so much. I feel like, I don't know, I learned more about psychology in this 30 minutes than I probably knew coming into this, and I really appreciate you sharing. I know that we have seen a couple questions. I think I've answered most of them. Paulina just asked if they get extra support. So you'll have teaching assistants who are students who have gotten 4s or 5s on the exam. You'll have the readers who work with College Board, and they're going to work with you to help give you feedback. And then you'll have Dr. Mull as well, and the community that he and the TAs and the readers will be in as well, so that they can help answer your questions. So there's tons of support from a lot of really smart people, both teachers and students. So it's a lot more than just the learning experience. We really want to stress that this is a community. And that's obviously something that a lot of us are feeling like we don't have right now because of our schooling situations. Are there any other questions? I mean, Dr. Mull answered so many. Hamshika asked, what's the structure of the AP Psych exam? Do you want to cover that one, Dr. Mull?
So in terms of the actual, like what the exam looks like, it is, now understand that College Board could change the content this year. They changed it, they changed the exam last year. But if we assume, and it's an assumption at this point, that they stick to the traditional exam format, it is 100 multiple choice questions that make up 66% or 2/3 of the exam. 100 multiple choice questions, 5 answer choices for each. You get 70 minutes to complete that. So that equates to 42 seconds per question.
That's fast.
So yeah, it's, but if you know it, it goes pretty easily, and then there is a 50-minute free response section that has 2 free response questions. So And the way it works is they have a first free response question is what they call concept application, where it's taking in a different number of terms and applying it to a situation. Typically, it's the way they traditionally have set this up recently. So I'm just making this up. Caroline has to give a Zoom presentation for her job. Describe how the diathesis stress model, no, actually, that's not good. To explain how the James Long theory might apply to her situation. That's just I made that up on the spot, obviously. And it might give you a series of terms where you would have to apply it in some way. That takes obviously learning about the content and also playing the game of the FRQ, knowing how to do that. You don't need to know that now, but you'll learn it over time. And then the second FRQ is research application, which is usually a description of a study, or maybe you have to do a rudimentary design of a study or discuss aspects of research and apply it in some way. So correspond really to the first unit of AP Psych. And those two put together, you get 50 minutes total to do that. That's how it's been done in the past. And I'm assuming that's how they're going to do it this year. However, if COVID causes prolonged closures, the only people who really know the answer and make that decision are the people at College Board.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Two other quick questions.
Sure.
Varsha is asking what order will you be going, in the order that College Board puts out of Unit 1 through, like, chronologically, or do you go in a different order?
For Fiveable, I'm going chronologically because in my own classroom, I went out of order in years past. And then they said, oh, by the way, you don't have to do the last 2 units for the AP exam this past year. And I had to cover those units already. So I found myself struggling to catch up on the stuff I didn't cover. And then we had to ignore stuff that we did learn. So if I go out of order, there is a chance that College Board might say, well, you know what, we're going to cut the last parts off so you don't have to worry about that. Will I do that this year? I don't know. But it makes more sense to me to go in order. So there's advantages and disadvantages to going in order and then doing it in different orders. But this is to ensure that in case College Board makes any modifications, it accommodates to the most plausible modifications that they make for the exam.
Awesome. Thank you. I think maybe the last question, if you plan to self-study psych for 2 semesters, and it sounds like this person is going to take it this semester with you, what units do you suggest they go more in depth with by themselves for second semester to prepare?
I would say, well, I mean, first, if you're talking about the percentages in terms of, what's covered, the College Board, I don't have the percentages here memorized, but they give more weight to certain topics. So, for example, I believe in the cognition unit makes up 15% of the exam. Social psychology, I think, makes up 10%. Again, I can't remember the exact percentages. But something like, let's say, sensation perception makes up 6%. But to me, though, it's not so much about picking what by the percentages. I'd say it's more a case of self-assess. What do you do well with? What questions do you answer correctly? What do you struggle with? Do what we call metacognition. Look at, my arms are disappearing. Look at what you know and don't know. Why do I not know? Do I not know because I didn't learn it very well? And then just focus on that. It's more about practicing even stuff you think you know. It's more about practicing that more than anything else, I'd say.
And I think also, just to build off of that, I think as you're in the course with Dr. Mull this semester, I'm sure, John, that you are going to go through what the most important things are and what the trickiest things are. So that question will probably be easier to answer in December than it is right now. But yes, definitely solid to just think about your strengths and weaknesses. It looks like Harrison popped in some of the largest weighted units also, so you can take a look at that. Thank you, Harrison. Any other final questions? If you do have questions, I'm going to drop my email in here. It's just caroline@fiveable.me. You can shoot me an email as you're considering. I know I already wrote this in the chat, but there is that discount code OH10 to get $10 off a course. You can use that if you haven't signed up yet, or if you want to sign up for another class for the fall or spring. You can share it with friends. So definitely do that. And if you're debating before tomorrow night at midnight Pacific time, if you want to sign up and you have questions, shoot me an email. So just let me know. And then recorded videos, there will be recorded videos. You will have access to them if you are enrolled in the class. And classes start on the 8th, so on Tuesday, the Tuesday after Labor Day. So just in a few days here. So that's why enrollment stops tomorrow at midnight. All right, y'all. John, thank you so much for your time. Everyone else, thank you so much for your time. Kai, what time is the class? We're still figuring it out. You'll get an email hopefully tomorrow about that. But we're going to make sure that it works for people's schedule. And remember that there are no grades. There's no specific homework that you're getting. There are activities that you can participate in, but it's up to you how much you participate. Awesome. I think I answered everyone's questions. Hopefully you guys were awesome. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, just know that this is an amazing opportunity to take AP Psych with a true psychology expert and researcher. And hopefully you guys are excited. Cool. That's all I have. So we will talk to you guys soon, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You have a good